So when the WandaVision finale finally dropped, it's fair to say that a large portion of the internet met it with a very big meh. This fan disappointment was something the director predicted before the episode had even come out. And with good reason. Over the 9 weeks the show ran, the internet swirled itself into a frenzied theorizing machine. One that predicted everything from the arrival of big comic book names like Mephisto or Doctor Strange, to predicting a finale in which Wanda would shatter and break the MCU, scattering it across the multiverse. And if you're the director of the show seeing all that, and you know what's actually coming, of course you'll think it'll disappoint people. And here's the thing, that's not the director or the writer's fault. Your disappointment isn't because of them. As a story, WandaVision isn't inherently badly written, and in terms of its character journeys, it's actually very well put together. Yes, it's a bit sloppy with its extended cast, like a psychopathic Hayward who wants to kill Wanda and literal children for no reason, or the case of the very quickly unimportant Darcy.
So I'll just meet you there then!
But with its main characters, WandaVision tells a complete and fulfilling character journey. One that confronts the challenges of grief and how that grief can drive people into self-destructive and harmful patterns of behavior. And it ultimately culminates in one of the more powerful emotional climaxes that the MCU has produced so far.
We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.
And that focus on character shouldn't have surprised anyone. Avengers Endgame focused far more on the character journeys of its 6 main characters than it did on sneaking in obscure comic book cameos or surprise twists. So why was it that fans online got whipped up into such a frenzy of speculation? Yes, the show partly encouraged it with Pietro, but even his origin is left deliberately ambiguous at the series' end. I'd be surprised if we didn't find out a bit more about the man supposedly called Ralph Bohner in the future. Boner. But what about everything else? The Mephisto theories, and the Reed Richards theories, and the Nightmare theories, the Baron Mordo theories, etc, etc, etc. And when none of those theories came true, why was everyone so upset? Upset to the point that WandaVision is being decried as an awful waste of time by a not insignificant part of the online fanbase. They went from thinking it was the best thing ever to the worst thing ever in the space of 2 weeks. There was no in between. Well, like every question I ask on this channel, I did a little bit of research, and I'm now here to give you the no questions asked, absolute, incontrovertible truth. So in examining how polarized the discussion around WandaVision had become on social media, I had a little brainwave, and it got me thinking about the other thing that's often polarized on our social media. Politics! And given how topical that is, and how often talking heads on the news mention polarization on social media, I knew there had to be at least one person who'd done a study or two or whatever out there. Why is it that no matter what the thing we're discussing is, it's either the best thing since that thing was invented, or the worst thing since Bratwurst was invented in the city of Nuremberg? Why is there no in between? And there have been studies. It turns out, lots of them. So there's lots of theories on why the internet spaces we inhabit have become so polarized, and if we were to discuss all of them, this video would be several hours long. So let's not do that. But one of the main ones is that our social media spaces have turned into echo chambers. These are spaces where we only hear opinions that we like and that reflect our own views. We find communities or follow people who think like us, and that leads us away from being able to have a nuanced debate with anyone, and we find ourselves on increasingly extreme opposite ends of a gaping chasm across which lives only the enemy. But in a recent article recapping a few studies in Scientific American, though that echo chamber theory is quite popular, it turns out it's actually not the case. In fact, in those studies being reported on, it found that people in echo chambers, if they're given equal opportunity to share their opinions, will often create more and more nuanced debates and be more open to challenging ideas. In those egalitarian echo chambers, people are more willing to listen to divergent opinions and to stories conflicting with their own personal experience. Upon further studies, it turns out that the extremification of online echo chambers is precisely because not everyone has an equal voice. And that's where, as it turns out, the influencer comes in. Influencers, with their massive audiences and their influence, it turns out, are one of the primary drivers of online polarization. And why is that? Well, they figured out what Rupert Murdoch's Fox News figured out many years ago. Spinning extreme narratives out of stories that aren't inherently that interesting, or even just making some up, is really great for your ratings. Or, as the article puts it, in centralized networks, biased influencers have a disproportionate impact on their community, enabling small rumors and suppositions to become amplified into widespread misconceptions and false beliefs. So that's why politically online, we get a lot of influencers who have effectively become comical caricatures of what their politics once stood for. These people are beyond parodying because they have already become the extreme of their own political ideologies, and the algorithm rewards them for it. And where that is true for politics, it's also true for how fan discourse has evolved online over the last few years. Not only do the algorithms reward those who push discussion to the extreme, movie either best thing ever or movie either worst thing ever, but they also reward you far more if you're covering the latest trending show rather than something that's come out like a whole month ago, bringing into question what I am doing with my time. But that's why there's an endless cavalcade of online creators who are making weekly or even daily content covering the latest series like WandaVision and The Falcon and Winter Soldier. That content doesn't even need to be high quality. A lot of weekly reviews are just recapping the episode and saying whether you liked it after your recap. And the algorithmic double whammy for the young, enterprising fandom influencer is that series like Game of Thrones or Marvel come with these massive pre-packaged audiences who rabidly want to consume content about their favorite series. Not only that, but these on-screen adaptations are based off of existing mythologies that content creators can mine for an almost endless amount of content and theories. No comic book issue is too obscure to try and make a tenuous link between it and the latest episode of WandaVision. Is that shadow a hint at Marvel villain Nightmare? Is this rune in the wall the sign of Mephisto? Does papyrus paper, which is made out of reeds, indicate that Reed Richards is secretly disguised as the book that Wanda is reading in the post-credits scene? Social media companies love this. They encourage never-ending discourse and theories. That's because if you're binge-watching WandaVision content on TikTok, you are not binge-watching it on YouTube, and vice versa. And that is good for those companies. They get to serve you more ads! So when something big like WandaVision is trending, there's a whole armada of TikTokers and YouTubers and, I don't know, Clubhousers? Are they still... It's over, right? We enjoyed that for a minute. Clubhouse. This is dumb. Anyway, they all rush out to create content about that, and they add their little circles and their arrows and the pointy things. And googly eyes. What's with the fucking googly eyes? So we're all getting swept up in fan theories more twisted than Charlie's Pepe Sylvia conspiracy.
Barney, he's the guy who tipped me off to Pepe Sylvia. Barney? Who the hell is Barney? You don't see Oh shit, what the hell did he... You've lost your mind.
And at the same time, there's what can at best be called clickbait journalism, and at worst just outright misreporting or misinterpreting of actors' quotes. This is done by publications who, like social media websites, are all competing for your attention and your clicks. And that is what led to a widely shared but very not real quote from Elizabeth Olsen that apparently said that she had said that a Luke Skywalker level cameo would be occurring in the WandaVision finale. But that is only what she said if you take it extremely out of context. The actual sequence of events was that an interviewer mentioned the Luke Skywalker thing from Mandalorian and asked if there would be any surprises in WandaVision, to which she said, yes, there would be surprises and she was excited about them. When you consider that this interview took place before we knew there was Pietro, before we knew there was Second Vision, before we knew it was Agatha all along, there's a whole bunch of surprises that she was making reference to. She was really excited about those surprises. But that didn't stop a lot of publications just quoting, yes, in quotations, and mentioning that the interviewer had mentioned Luke Skywalker cameo and just... We're in a bad fucking place. Anyway, that quote was then infinitely circled around the bottomless pit of theorizing influencers, and what was it the study said again? Enabling small rumors and suppositions to become amplified into widespread misconceptions and false beliefs. Ah, I see. So it's actually not really your fault that you got swept up in all of these theories, but it's not the writers or directors' fault either. It's part of the wonderful world of social media we live in. None of us had a choice in this. I wasn't immune from this. I got swept up in all of these theories. But when that interview with the director was released the week before the finale, I realized what should have been obvious all along. We were all waiting for these wild fan theories to come true and for the show to throw these crazy plot twists at us, and that meant we were missing the true drama and character-driven narrative right in front of us. So for the finale, I removed all those expectations from myself and just let myself feel for the characters. Aside from the classic bad floaty CGI fights that are now apparently part of every Marvel movie, it was a really good time. It told a complete narrative, and it told it competently. And in the end, that's all you can ask from a show. I know since last year we're used to me just kind of finding some ethical fault with Disney in the post-credits scenes of these videos. And I suppose I could have, but you know, I've been working a lot lately. I don't want to spend my time just digging another emotional hole for myself. So, you know, Disney bad, give me money, Patreon link somewhere around. You get your name in the credits, you get 24-hour early access to the video. That's it. Instead of buying Raya on Disney Plus, just give me $1 to $5 a month.